What's yes, parents? It's another Thursday. Hope you guys have had a great week this week. It's been great here at Fairfield Christian School, although we do have a number of students out who are sick. Apparently there's some nasty bug going around right now, so we're definitely praying for those students for a speedy recovery so they can get back to school here quickly. But make sure you guys are drinking lots of water, getting lots of sleep, make sure your immune systems are nice and strong. So we have fewer students out sick, and so we can make sure we have them in school, prepared, ready to go, learning everything they need to learn. All right, just a few things to go over this week. First of all, re-enrollment is in full swing. We have right now probably more applications than we've ever had at this point in our enrollment process, so thank you to all of those that have already turned in applications. And for those of you who have not, remember January is our preferred re-enrollment period. During this time, the students that are already here have the first opportunity to re-enroll for next year, and we do have several classes that will fill up next year. So make sure you get those applications in. If you have not turned in an application yet, go online to rlcschool.com, fill out that online application. That'll come directly to us. We can get that re-enrollment process started. Because remember, on February 1st, it goes to open enrollment, which means anybody can then enroll in the school, including students who are not currently enrolled in the school. And as I've told you before, I have already interviewed parents with new students who want to come to our school. So make sure you save your slot. Make sure you get your child re-enrolled for Fairfield Christian School as soon as possible. Okay, this weekend, we actually have a 4-day weekend. So January 13th through the 16th, we are off. So if you see your calendar, you'll probably see that the January 13th is marked as the Teacher in-Service Day. And then January 16th, we're celebrating MLK Day. And one thing I always stress to the students, we talked about it a little bit in chapel on Friday, but I want to make sure the students understand why we take days off. They're just not, a reason to take a day off. Our nation celebrates these days for particular reasons. So on Friday in chapel, I showed some quotes from Martin Luther King Jr. We talked about him a little bit, and I just want to make sure I stress to the students and to you as parents that we understand the reason we take these days off. Martin Luther King Jr., he was a civil rights leader. His use of nonviolence for civil disobedience is a hallmark of American progress, of American change. So read more about it. If you don't know much about Martin Luther King Jr., read more about him, talk to your kids about him. And that goes for any of our holidays, whether it's Veterans Day, the 4th of July, any of the holidays that we celebrate, especially the ones we take off for school. Make sure the kids understand why we're taking those days off. And we're not just getting a free day to sleep in. We're getting a day to celebrate and honor, in this case, Martin Luther King Jr. and his legacy. And in other cases, we're celebrating our military, the veterans who have risked their lives and sacrificed things for us. So make sure that kids not only just take a day off, but they understand the reason why we're taking days off. All right, and then there's one more thing I want to talk to you about. It's a little bit of a downer, but it's something very important I think I need to mention to all of you as parents. I had some students come to me earlier this week, and there was some concern with some things that were being written on the internet about other students here at this school. Apparently some person had created some anonymous account on a social media site. They had then started talking trash about some of the students here on campus. Then other students thought it was another student here on campus and were blaming them for doing it, and so it turned into kind of a big thing. And the students came to me. I had no idea about it. I'm not a huge social media person, but the students came to me, asked me about it. We were able to look up some things online, found what they were talking about. And so in class this week, I addressed it in all of my Bible classes with the middle schoolers and the high schoolers. So one thing I had them do is I had them all take out their Bibles. I had them read Ephesians chapter 5, verses 6 through 14. Then I had them all write what they thought those verses meant. Then we had a lengthy discussion about what those verses meant, especially in relation to their use of the internet, their use of computers, and their relationship to parents. We are doing a unit right now with my middle school Bible class talking about parents. The entire unit is about parents and how the relationship that kids should have with their parents. So it was very actually appropriate for, at least for that class, for what we're talking about. It was also very important for those other classes as well. Several things came out of that discussion. First of all, I asked the students, how many of you have social media accounts that your parents don't know about? I was alarmed at how many hands went in the air. I think you would be alarmed at how many hands went in the air. And those were just the students that admitted it. I can pretty much guarantee you there were several students that didn't admit it that also have hidden social media accounts. I also asked them, how many of you have friends on social media that you have never met in person? And again, I was alarmed at how many kids were raising their hands. when I brought up Ephesians chapter 5, verses 6 to 14, I brought that verse up specifically because God wants us to bring things into the light. He does not want things hidden in darkness. In fact, those verses say that we should expose the things that are in the darkness. And so I talk to the kids very pointedly that there should not be anything that they have that is hidden from their parents. It should be exposed in the light. Because if they're hiding things in darkness, things tend to unexpectedly grow in the darkness. And when they grow in the darkness, bad things can happen. So as parents, and yes, I'm going to meddle a little bit right here. So I'm going to give you some advice. You can take my advice. You can throw it out the window. You can do whatever you want with it. But I'm going to give you, as parents, some advice in terms of handling some of this stuff. I know for me, the world was a much different place when I was young. There was no internet when I was a teenager. These kids have grown up in this environment. And so they feel very comfortable doing a lot of things. But as a parent, as a teacher, as a principal, I want to give you parents some advice about how you should handle some of these things. And again, you could take it or leave it. But for one, I would not allow internet in bedrooms. I would not allow free access of internet in a child's bedroom. Anytime anybody is on the internet, it should be in the home, in an open public place where anyone can see what is being done on the computer. And this is not an issue of trust. You may trust your kids implicitly. That's fine. But there are predators out there seeking to take advantage of people. In fact, in Ephesians chapter 5, a little bit later on, I want to say it's verse 17, it talks about that the days are evil. The days are evil. And that was in Paul's day, and the days have not changed in our day. The days are evil. There are a lot of temptations out there on the internet that are alluring to kids. Kids want to kind of see this stuff. It's kind of forbidden. They kind of know it's forbidden, but it's tempting for them to see. And sometimes those things, those temptations overwhelm their common sense. But also, as I said, there are predators out there actively seeking to take advantage of people in lots of different ways. So it's not a matter of trust. It's a matter of accountability. So don't allow internet in a bedroom or a private place. Make sure anytime your kids are using internet, it's in an open public area of the home. Also, be aware of the accounts that your kids have. I actually encouraged every student in class throughout all the middle school and high school to go home and be honest with their parents. Tell them about things their parents may not know about. Because we talked about the light and the darkness and things being exposed and things need to be exposed, and about how the relationship between child and parent is the most important earthly relationship we can have, especially at their age. So I'm hoping some students did go home and talk to their parents. If not, maybe you need to initiate that conversation. But be aware of the accounts that your kids have. Know their username, know their password. I can tell you it's very easy to set up a fake account on these social media sites. If I'm being honest, I actually have a fake Facebook account. Now, it's not for nefarious means or anything like that. I do it so that when other websites ask to link to my Facebook account, I can link it to basically a bogus account, so I don't have to link it to my real account. But there are people that will use fake accounts for evil purposes, so that they can be anonymous behind a computer screen. Make sure you're aware of all your kids' accounts and where they're at. Also, be aware of who their friends are on social media. It's very important. I know it requires a lot of work. I know it requires a lot of effort and time, but the safety of our kids is important. A child cannot unsee what they've already seen. They cannot unexpose something that's been exposed. So make sure that you are taking the time to check up on your child's internet, on their browsers. Make sure you are checking all that stuff. We want to keep the kids as safe as possible, not just physically, but emotionally, socially, spiritually. So please make sure you're aware of everywhere your kids are online, all their social media accounts, who they're talking to, things they're talking about. Because when I saw some of these posts online, I tracked down some of these anonymous people and I kind of narrowed it down to who it might be. And quite honestly, I believe some of them are some students that no longer go here to Fairfield Christian School. But the students that I could identify, there were some comments made by students here at the school that were definitely not appropriate. And these are kids that I didn't necessarily expect those comments from. So again, it's not a matter of trust, it's a matter of keeping your kids safe from temptation and safe from predators and keeping them from being exposed to things they shouldn't be exposed to. And one last thing, everyone needs to be accountable to someone. As kids need to be accountable to their parents. But as adults, we need to model that accountability as well. all of us should be accountable to someone else. For example, my wife has full access to my computer and my phone at all times. I am accountable to her. She is accountable to me. We don't hide things from each other, nothing like that. In a marriage, that's very important that a husband and wife be accountable to one another. And as husbands and wives model that behavior of being accountable to one another, that sets a great example for kids to be accountable to them as adults. If as parents we're hiding things from one another, that sets a bad example. Now that's telling the kids it's okay to hide things from other people. Please have an accountability partner. Men, have somebody you're accountable to, including outside your wife. Have a good friend, a mentor at your church, something like that. Be accountable. As men, there are a lot of temptations out there as well. Christian men, you would not, if you saw the statistics of Christian men involved in things on the internet they should not be involved in, you'd be alarmed. Please be accountable to someone in everything you do. Women, same thing. You should definitely be accountable to your husband, but you should also have another friend or mentor that you are accountable to. It's to keep us all safe. That's why we have the body of Christ, to strengthen one another, to edify one another, to keep one another accountable in everything we do. So again, I know I'm meddling, maybe preaching a little bit, but please, for your own safety, for your spiritual safety, for your kids' spiritual safety, please make sure you're aware of what the kids are doing online. Make sure you're aware of where they're going, who they're talking to, and what they're doing. All right? I hope you guys have a fantastic week. And remember, this weekend is a 4-day weekend, so no school Friday, also no school next Monday. I hope to see you guys real soon. God bless.